I'm a visual thinker. It was much, much, much easier and only possible for me to get clear about my messaging when I started to draw it all up. And I found that is also helpful for other people who don't draw, but are also visual thinkers. There was one of my clients last week who said, it takes 3 hours, this process, 2.5, 3 hours. He has advanced more with his stuff in these 3 hours than he did it in the last 3 years.
This is the Ideas Lab podcast, where you can learn from great creative and entrepreneurial minds how to turn your ideas into original businesses, books, and brands. Because in a crowded world, it pays to stand out. This is your host, John Williams, best-selling author and founder of the Ideas Lab London. If you're wondering how to take your creative or artistic skills and make a really good living out of them, or if you're interested in how you can create something in the market that is completely unique and market it successfully, this podcast is for you. Ingrid Lill is an illustrator based in Denmark. She joined my Pioneer program a few months ago because she wanted to pull herself out of that market of illustrators, where often you don't get paid that well for your work, even if you're really skilled, and instead create something that was distinctive. A visual thinking process called brand storyboarding, which helps businesses to identify who their target market is, what they provide that is of real value to them, what makes them different, and captures all of that in a beautiful illustration that Ingrid creates. Hello, Ingrid. Thanks for joining us on the Ideas Lab podcast.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me.
Tell us where you're based. You're in Denmark somewhere, aren't you?
I'm in Denmark, yes, 1 hour south of Copenhagen, on the countryside.
Oh, nice. Okay. And how are things going in Denmark with the virus?
Well, I'm so isolated anyway. I don't notice that much where I live, but it's not as dramatic as in other places. Schools are opening again, and I don't see anybody anyway all day. The family is home. That's a difference to before.
Okay, that sounds nice. So you do a thing called brand storyboarding, and I think it would be interesting to explain what this is and why somebody might want to attempt to do it in some form or other. So what is brand storyboarding?
Brand storyboarding is a process where you find out, get clarity about your message. If you have a business or you want to have a business, then you get clarity about what to say, whom to talk to, and what to say to them, and be very clear about why they should buy from you, to have this whole messaging in place. And I found that because I'm a visual thinker, it was much, much, much easier and only possible for me to get clear about my messaging when I started to draw it all up. And I found that is also helpful for other people who don't draw, but are also visual thinkers.
So this process, when somebody hires you to do a brand storyboard, how does that work, and what do they do with you? Because I think it's interesting for other people who want to do something a little bit different from the norm. And there are lots of people also, I think, who listen to the podcast who are interested in visual art and visual thinking as well. When you work with somebody to do a brand storyboard, what is the process and what do they get out of it at the end?
Well, the drawing itself is only a tool. I mean, you get illustrations out of it, but it's the process itself that is what you get out of it. That is clarity about what to say, and it starts like this. I ask you if we start a session. Who is your customer? And then you have to be really, and I start drawing, and you see what I'm drawing. So I start with drawing ahead, and then you have to put features on it. So is she or he female, male, and in which situation is she right now? And I'm drawing the external circumstances and their problem, and I'm drawing their how they feel, the expression in their face. And because you can see it directly, what I'm drawing, it becomes very, very easy to see if it's correct or not.
I like that, because it's normally this very theoretical process, because I'm always asking people, in fact, it's probably a question I asked you, who is your target client? Because you worked with me on the Pioneer program. And it becomes this theoretical thing where you're trying to imagine, but what you're doing when you're working through somebody through this process is you're drawing it right in front of them. So you start drawing something and they go, oh no, I imagine somebody much younger. You change it so it looks like somebody younger, I'm guessing.
Yes. And then also, I also write into the picture what they are thinking and what they are feeling, and make a word and drawing picture out of it. So there are also words in it, and finding the right words is actually easier if you have the picture and you see the process. So this is the first stage, is the client and the problem. And the problem can also be drawn. That's the monster, or that's the time that it's running out. And then I draw the worst case scenario. And when this picture is finished, the client with a problem, then I ask, and what does this client in this moment, who is about to call you when it's really bad for her with a problem, what does she dream about? And that's her aspirational identity. That is what she wants. And then I draw this. But it's maybe not the reality, or not the whole reality, but you have to put yourself in her shoes, what she can hear. Because there's probably a lot of things that you have to do for her that she doesn't know. She just wants to, if she's fat, she only wants to lose weight and not hear a lot about health benefits. I just did a storyboard for a weight loss coach.
Which is why that came to mind. Yeah. So you're drawing all these things, like what the person looks like, but you're selling to in a business. You're drawing what their problem is, like the thing that's driving them to want to do something about their life or their business, whatever it is that you're helping with. And I love the idea that it might be drawn as a monster, the debt monster or the negative thought monster or something. And then you're drawing, the exact moment that's brought them to the point where they want to do something about it. And you're drawing where they want to end up with, like, what's the dream situation, which is kind of the questions I lead people through as well. But I love the idea that it's visual. Have you got an example that you can show us?
I don't know if it's possible to see. So this was a positivity coach. Can you see that?
Frazzled and confused. Yeah,
that's the frazzled and confused. And I don't dare to. So here is the three monsters that
frazzle,
she's turning into.
Inertia, and what is that? Chaos?
Chaotica.
Is that a new word?
That's her the bad identities she has. And this is the worst case scenario. She doesn't get out of bed anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And I can't really see it. I can see where I'm pointing to. And time is running out. The children are leaving home, and then I also try to identify as the external, the internal problems, and then the philosophical problem, and that's why it's completely wrong that she's feeling like that. And that is, in this case, midlife doesn't have to be a struggle if you use the tools of positivity. That's cut off here.
Right.
So that's like the overarching theme of it. And she is dreaming about this.
Okay, yeah. Purpose and meaning. I know who I am and what I want. Body. The future is yours. What does I say? Strong in mind and body, ready for anything. Maybe a new job, relaxed. Yeah, and there's something about visual stuff that just brings it to life for me in a way that just a written description doesn't. I think for a lot of us visual thinkers, that's the way. I have a friend I work with on finance stuff and planning stuff, and he sends me spreadsheets of data which are all, all the numbers and all the text lines are exactly the same size and the same color and the same font. And he thinks his job is done. And I go like, this means nothing to me. It's just like, I can pick it apart, but I can't capture it in my head until I've got the feeling like, is this good? Is this bad? Where is it going? I can only do that in the visual form. And I think a lot of us are like that.
Yes. And it also activates some part of the brain that's creative. So we get together a lot of ideas how to name the program. So that's the middle part of the thing. And that is an arrow here, how she gets her clients to the other side. And so we identify the program, and it's different in every session that I do. Sometimes it's like really concrete steps. Sometimes it's a little more philosophical. And then here she's using the tools of positivity, the character strengths that are some cogs in her head, and so it makes it easy.
Oh, this is Libbler, who I actually know. I just realised, yes, right, yes. Who is another person on the Pioneer program. That's great. And because I started to recognise some of I went, oh yeah, character strengths. Doesn't Libbler use that? So that's really nice.
Yeah. And then we have also the authority here and the empathy, because she knows the problems of her client. So that's what is going to has to be on the about page. Yeah.
And when you did this for Libbler, who is works with women in midlife positivity coach to turn their lives around. What was her reaction? What did she get out of it?
Clarity. I mean, before she had she made a list, a very general list about what good things she's doing for her client, but it was like not structured at all. And she did not really speak to this frazzled woman here that is really desperate. And she does not want to think or learn about anything. She just wants to feel better. And that's how it helps to get your message on point. And then the illustrations just also, or the it's not even the illustrations, it's the visual layout really helps to get clear about which stage you're in. And then it's really easy to turn this into a website. You just put it on vertical.
So what you're saying is you can take those elements from the drawing and actually put them on the website. And your graphics are just beautiful, I think. And I've seen, you also design websites as well. But this brought us to an interesting point, wasn't it? Because when we were working together in the Pioneer program, partly what we're trying to do is make sure we didn't position you as just an illustrator, because here you are, a great illustrator, and you can build people's websites. But what we were trying to do is create something that was much higher value, which ended up being the brand storyboarding. Because when you create something unique and it has an enormous value for people, then you can end up doing something that people see the value and they're willing to pay a lot more money for it. And it sounds like that's going really well now. So last week was your first week where you were basically completely booked out with brand storyboarding sessions, which is fantastic. But we went backwards and forwards quite a while with this on the Pioneer program. What do you think? What was it that finally allowed you to, that helped you to get to the point where you go, okay, this is the way to present it and people get the value now?
It's talking less about the illustrations. I mean, now I've talked a lot about it. Yeah. But it's a tool to get clarity. And it's just a very good and powerful tool to get clarity.
Yeah.
And to and I show them their strengths and how they can help their customers, and that's really difficult to see yourself. And I know that. I mean, that's why I'm the Pioneer program, and you help me see my strengths, and I can help see other people their strengths, and I really show them their strengths. So that's powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because what we were trying to do and what we're always trying to do in the Pioneer program is make sure that people don't end up commoditized. So even though you're a great illustrator, the danger is people just compare you against your rate for other illustrators. And so, as you said, by shifting the conversation, so you talked less about the illustration that comes out of it and more about the clarity they're going to get about their brand. That's what seemed to change things and allow people to go, okay, this is really valuable.
And that's also my uniqueness in a way. Because I have done graphic design and worked as an art director and designed many websites and corporate design, and it's easy to me to see how things should be put together. And now I'm crossing this with the illustration, so I'm just sketching it out. So this is like a combination of strengths, and then I'm also. I think I have a good mind for systems. I'm German.
Oh, right. Okay. So you have a feel, you can kind of extrapolate from what you're looking at and turn that into a process or a system. And that is a very valuable thing. Yeah. And when you were on the Pioneer program, what do you think made the most difference for you? If you think about when you came in and where you are now, what's had the biggest impact?
I think the material was really, really interesting just to learn what is my brand. It was like a little bit like the process that I'm doing here, I was doing for myself. And what is my standout brand? That was a wonderful exercise. And then also that in the office hours, every time I was there, I was like trying to get my packages and my pricing right. And you said every time, you're not an illustrator.
Yeah.
Like getting impatient with me. And yeah. So that was really helpful.
Good. Well, I'm glad it was helpful in the end and not just kind of annoying. But yeah, that's the point. That's what we're trying to do, trying to say, like, let's pull you out of this pool of illustrators, because now you could say really there isn't anybody else in the world that quite does what Ingrid Lill does. And now that means you can kind of set your own price, and it's not just according to the market, because there is no market for it. But because it has a clear, it solves a clear problem, then that's really, people recognize the value. So the kind of people who come to you, I guess, are the kind of people who they find it difficult to sum up what it is that they do, who it's for, and that kind of stuff. And when they describe it, it comes out too vague. Is that how you would put it?
Yes. And it's often people who already have tried to formulate their message and to put it all together and found out that it's not that easy. There was one of my clients last week who said, it takes 3 hours, this process, 2.5, 3 hours. He has advanced more with his stuff in these 3 hours than he did it in the last 3 years.
Wow.
Of his.
That's fantastic. Yeah. No, I think that's, it's been amazing what you've done. And for anybody else who wants to create something unusual, I suppose it's inspiring for all those people out there, particularly who have artistic skills and despair of trying to make money from art. And it's great to see how you've managed to combine this artistic skill with something very practical what businesses need. Did you ever try to go down the art route and try to make a living from art?
I did, and I'm still painting and I'm still making sculptures. Just right now, not so much because I'm really interested in developing this thing here. I always had these two lanes. I was making art and I was doing graphic design for money, and now I'm combining it into one.
I think that's a really good model. And what it means is that also, because you've got one thing that pays you, but you can sell, that people value and that they pay well for, it means that you do actually have a bit of spare time when you've, got over this initial kind of rush to get it all going, where you've got some money and you've got some time to do art. Plus, as you say, you brought your art to a certain extent into your work as well. And that seems like a good model for lots of artists who are watching this. So if people want to find out more about what you do, Ingrid, and see some of these great images you've created and see how it works, where should they go to online?
It's all, there are links to everything on ingridlill.com.
Okay,
Ingrid Lill.
Yeah. Ingrid Lill is INGRIDLILL.com. And
there's a link to the brand storyboarding. There's also a link to my drawing class. I now in the virus corona period, I started giving free drawing sessions every Tuesday. So tonight is one, and at 8:00 Danish time, and that's really nice to connect with people. And
yeah, that's lovely. So if you want to take part in a free drawing class, you can go and look at ingridlill.com now. And you also have some classes, some like learn how to draw classes that people can take online. Is that right? Sort of paid programs that they can follow through step by step. So anyone who's interested in that stuff, go and check that out. So thanks, Ingrid. It's just been great to see how you've made this work over the past few weeks. It's been a few months now. And even during this crazy period in the world, you've actually managed to get a business up and going. So I think that's really inspiring.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And thank you for your help with it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Ideas Lab podcast. Please do subscribe, and if you've enjoyed this episode, it would be great if you could leave us a review. You can get links and details of everything mentioned in the podcast in the show notes, along with photos and video clips from many of our episodes. Just go to theideaslab.org/podcast.